Hi, I'm Rita Sabasco.
And I'm Maura Krzyzanowski, and we're Rooted in Language.
Maura and I are both speech and language pathologists. We work with struggling readers and writers, and we work with a team of people at Rooted in Language. We work with struggling learners, helping them we provide materials to help them become stronger in various areas of language arts. And we help the educator too, Maura. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the educator is mostly what we're focused on in our Rooted in Language products and in our Rooted in Language classes. We offer online educator training courses in each of these key skill areas for struggling readers and writers for the educator, because we know you guys, you're out there doing the good work. We want to provide resources and give you the tools you need to feel empowered and have the know-how for what to do with these kids who really struggle with these skills.
Right, and we're not just all theory. Maura and I work with struggling readers and writers every week, and our work that we're sharing with you is based on not only what we have learned in working with kids, what we see week to week, but also what we know is out there in the research and what we believe makes the biggest difference in helping kids get on and stay on a path to progress.
Right.
So today we're talking about one of these key pieces to helping kids progress. And what is that, Maura?
Yeah, today our topic is about allowing productive struggle, which can be a bit of a hot button topic as it comes to struggling learners. So we'll talk to you about what that means and how that really is this key need for facilitating growth and independence in your struggling learners, which is our goal.
Right. So we have many of our classes we call laying a path classes, because we believe that kids can have a difficult time getting on the reading and writing path.
Yeah.
And if they're on the path, they may suddenly become stuck at a certain level.
Right.
And we like to try to help kids find ways to help kids keep moving on that path and progressing in their reading and writing skills. And we do that by laying one stone at a time in that path. And that's what we're about. And so we support kids in all these different skill areas of language arts.
Which is why we're called Rooted in Language, because we really believe that we need to be growing all of these skills that make up our entire language system in order for these kids to strengthen their skills the best that they can.
Right. And our entire language system includes listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and a lot of underlying skills that have to come together for those things to happen.
And that's not easy to teach or really even know what to do, or even really know, well, what kinds of signs of my struggling learner are they exhibiting, and what does that mean for how I need to intervene? And that's kind of where we come in.
Right. So we know that the struggling learner is struggling, right? And so, but we want to make sure that we're helping them struggle in a way that's productive and not destructive. As we said, struggling learners struggle. But the thing that's interesting—
the struggle is real, folks.
Yeah, the struggle is real. But what's interesting is all learning requires some level of struggle. That's when we're learning, where there's something that we're presented with, and we need to engage with it, wrestle with it a little bit, and in the midst of that, learning happens.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, is to sort of think, well, even a typical learner isn't really learning if they know it already, or it's totally easy. And there isn't this little bit of, wait, what? I have questions. This is kind of hard. I didn't really know this. How do I do this? We all do that, even if you're not a struggling learner. So struggle is not inherently a negative thing. That's kind of the first sort of little step we want you to understand.
Right. But we also want you to get that too much struggle feels like drowning. And we talk about this in one of our talks we present in this expo that talks about praise.
Yes.
Maura and I give some examples of when we feel like drowning and how people talk to us in the midst of this, how teaching to a level of success can stop us from feeling like we're drowning.
Because you get to experience some success, which, by the way, is what motivates you to move forward and grow
and keep learning,
and keep going.
We can't have zero success in our learning. That's too much struggle. that's drowning. But if we can get just the right amount of struggle, we're no longer drowning. Now we're swimming.
Right.
Okay? So to start out, Maura, what do they need to be thinking about?
So we want you, just as you're sitting here listening to this talk, to think about a time when you were so overwhelmed or frustrated that you gave up. So think about maybe the task was really above where you should have been or where you needed to be, and therefore it was just too much and you were done.
Right. So if I'm in a yoga class and they say, everyone do a handstand, I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to feel frustrated. I'm not really strong enough for a handstand.
You might feel like, how did I end up in this class where everyone's doing a handstand?
Right. And I've been in yoga classes that I feel like are more for gymnasts than the average, 50-some-year-old woman. And, I'm not even maybe average. Maybe I'm not very good at yoga. So I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to go back to that class. So that is destructive struggle. It wasn't at the right level. I feel overwhelmed.
There was no scenario in which you could have success there because you didn't have skills built up to that point.
Right. Just do your handstand, right? And so I give up. Now, I might give up altogether. Nope, yoga's not for me. Right. But I also might say, you know what? That was too high of a level for me. And that is a way that I didn't let that moment become destructive.
And that's something that we actually need the educators to do, because a lot of our students are going to be, hey, this isn't for me. This was too hard.
I can't read.
I can't, right? And we need to consider, wait, maybe this is giving me valuable information that we are actually working at a level that's resulting in destructive in no success. Basically, it's destructive. The struggle is just that. It's only struggle, right? And there's nothing productive about it. And so that gives us information about how we need to modify and scale back.
Okay. So then I want you to think about a time when you were challenged, but you stuck with it and you're experiencing success and progress. So this is something I can do in yoga. I can't say I look as good as he does doing it, but I can do this move in yoga. Could I on day one? I don't really know, but it wasn't thrown at me right away. I worked on other kinds of balance and strength.
Underlying skills.
Right. Those stones on the path leading me to a challenge that was productive for me. I experienced some success. I have progress.
She's proud of that.
Yes, and I'm willing to keep learning. I'm not going to walk out angry and feeling ashamed of myself.
When you experience success, then you feel like, oh, I can do this, and you continue.
Right. So Maura said,
struggle is real. That's right.
Right.
So struggle is inherent to the struggling learner. And I kind of had said that at the beginning. We want you to recognize that engaging in struggle isn't necessarily always negative, even though the word struggle can feel negative. And we need to know that the struggling learner, that's why we're here. That's why we're working on these things. They struggle with these things. But we end up kind of with these two choices with the struggling learner. You either end up with avoidance, or you can engage in that struggle positively and productively and in such a way that is successful for them so that they can grow their skills. If we avoid, we're growing nothing.
Right. I remember once my friend and colleague here at Rita and Language, she's an artist, Tracy Molitor's, she was giving us a drawing lesson out in the woods. And we were homeschooling at the time. And so the kids and parents were all doing this drawing lesson. And one of the other adults with us said, oh yeah, now I remember, I hate this. She just stopped. And it cracked me up because, we did have two choices. We could just avoid it. I am not very strong in my art skills. I certainly wasn't loving everything I was drawing, but I had two choices. I could completely avoid it, or I could engage in the struggle. Was I having great fun? Well, if art was really my thing, I would definitely be having lots of fun. But sometimes I am doing things that are not exactly fun, but it isn't negative and it isn't destructive.
Yeah, eating kale is unfun sometimes, but it can be positive and good for you. So struggle can sometimes be unfun, but it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to result in these emotionally destructive
right.
responses.
So the fact that children, our students, especially our struggling learners, are not always having fun, doesn't mean that the answer is avoid. The answer can be, how can we engage in the struggle, but how can we set up the struggle at a level that's productive? You're swimming, you're not drowning.
Right.
Okay?
Give enough support so that they can engage in that struggle productively. So this was just a quote that I read by C.S. Lewis not too long ago, and it really struck me about this idea of productive struggle. He says, if you want to get warm, you must stand near the fire. If you want to be wet, you must get into the water. And that really does demonstrate that idea of, being nowhere near this activity is not going to result in any growth.
Mm-hmm. And that's really important for us, because we see a lot of students who've come to us who have not been reading and writing because they struggle with it. It's not necessarily that the educators aren't trying, but we've got to figure out a way to get them reading. The only way you're going to learn to read is you need to do some reading. You got to be a little near the fire, but we don't want you to get so burned that you don't want to come back. Okay.
Exactly. Nice extended metaphor.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So what are some of our philosophies about what productive struggle looks like, Moira, and what are the results?
So we say this all the time, that we really want to teach to this level of success, which is what leads to the students. When you experience success, you suddenly have hope for yourself. You also have a little bit of encouragement that doing this hard work means that I can, get to a successful place, and that results in a lot of pride as well.
Right. We have a student in this picture who's using a product we have called Explore a Story, where she had to engage in writing in all these bits and pieces of writing across this spread that you see her holding up. And she was dealing with all these different literary elements about the development of a character in a book. And through all that hard work of all those bits and pieces of writing, she felt pride.
Yes. She was really proud of what she came up with.
Gave her hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And she didn't think she could write that much analytically. Right.
Right.
Had I said, write me an analytical paragraph
or paper,
right, that probably would have been at that way too high level, tossing right into the fire and resulting in failure. That's destructive struggle. But we worked through this process. Was this all very easy for her? No, but she was doing it in these manageable bits and pieces that then allowed her to be successful and experience that pride.
Right. And when she shared in that process, in this case, this was one of Moira's students, she shared in this process with Moira, who, I'm willing to help you, but you must still do the work, as we have written at the bottom.
Right.
She experienced engagement. This is an important piece of productive struggle. Kids are engaged. And then when we can help them track progress over time, in this particular book, there are pages that can be filled as she goes along. She could take 2 years doing it. There's no rush, but over time, she sees that. She's showing it here. She feels empowerment, right?
Exactly.
Such an important piece of what we're going for, what makes the struggle productive, what makes learning happen.
Yeah. So destructive struggle might happen because the educator didn't adequately equip the student. And this is not to be placing blame on educators. We've all done this, where suddenly you're doing something with a student and they're freaking out, or they're just pushing it away, or they're totally unengaged, or if they've literally gotten out of the chair and walked out of the room, all kinds of things.
Or worse still, they're crying.
Or they're crying. Yeah, they're break down or shut down, head down on the table, right? We've all seen that, right? And there's something about what you're doing there that they don't feel equipped for. They don't feel that they have the skills for it. They don't feel they can attack that task. Therefore, something needed to change leading up to it.
Right. One of the things we hear the most is how much we whittle down all the steps to help students get to that next level.
Yeah.
Because just over the years, recognizing I have to equip the student here, I have to equip the student there. And sometimes you'll miss it. You'll think the student's ready and they're not.
Right.
And so we just need to know how to quickly back up and support the students so that we don't have that kind of breakdown
lay a stone
happening.
that was too far away.
Right.
Right.
And if it happens, we apologize and we try to say, we're going to figure this out because we know the struggle's real and we want to be productive.
Right. Yeah, so you can also be getting signs that there wasn't enough support for a successful outcome. You could be doing a task that the student is able to engage in and be successful with support, but we weren't giving enough support, and then they experience failure, and then it was fell flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So often, sometimes, that might be the first thing you try. Well, what if I modify in this way? What if I support you in this way? Can you then be still in the driver's seat, doing the work, but experiencing success?
Right. Sometimes I'll set up something that I think, one student loved. They loved it that the timer was going. They loved it that they were getting points for this. But then the next student, that just makes them feel like
Freeze
I
up.
didn't get a point.
Yeah.
Now I'm a big failure. I'm totally embarrassed.
Timer's
So
going. I can't think.
the timer's going.
Stressed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we just have to be really sensitive. If somehow we have pushed the student to this level of failure or embarrassment, we're still, throw them in a group that's all working above them, and we don't have any means for them to be working at
Or
that
engaging
level.
in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're just feeling failure and embarrassment.
Yep.
This
And
is
then,
an important one here.
yeah, when avoidance is offered, which doesn't remove the struggle, but just leads to this learned helplessness. So when you allow that, right? Oh, you don't want to do this? Okay, we won't.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So students will say, I can't write. Well, I think you can write, and I'm going to help show you how to write.
And we're going to do it in these manageable bits that aren't overwhelming.
But if I say, oh, you can't write, you need me to write for you.
I'll write everything for you.
Yes, the task got done. Yes, that student looks happy that they got to avoid it, but over time there's learned helplessness, and ultimately that's not building self-esteem.
It's not building skills.
Right. And those students, we see them when they're middle school, high schoolers, and actually they feel terrible about the fact that they're not reading and writing. So we don't want that.
Yeah.
We've taken the word avoidance and it leaves you with a void there. As we show you, that's one of our word study products.
At the bottom when our little bugs there.
Called alien bugs. We use them for word studying prefixes and suffixes and base words. So that avoidance leaves kids with a void in how they feel about themselves.
Yes.
Okay?
So,
an example.
yeah, Roots Entwined is a class we teach where we really help educators who have taken some of our pieces of all these different skills and how we teach them, and we help them kind of consolidate those together, and how we help students consolidate all those things together.
Right. So we don't have to go through every piece of this, but I think the purple boxes there really more if that kind of emphasizes what some of our philosophies are. So you want to just mention what those are. If it's productive,
then you will be working to a level of success.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it's destructive, then it's this idea that you're just drowning, right? You're thrown into deep water that you can't manage.
Right.
And you're drowning.
So when we pre-teach, when we provide support, when we teach strategies and show them those strategies, when we give kids lists and hold them accountable or give them materials that they have to reference, we don't just tell them the answers.
Yeah.
We are engaging them. And
that's a skill, using your resources to help you when you don't know.
Right. Teach the resources.
We don't want to be like, here it is, right? Have them have to do some of that work. Oh, where do you have that resource? Can you get it out and find it?
Yes. And we give them time to work to that level of success. We don't let it go so far they're drowning, but we don't run right in and rescue them either so that they can avoid a task.
Yes, yes.
Okay? So just another little example of this. I'll just be very brief about it. Ignore whether you know all the grammar or not. I just want to show you that as sentence structure, for example, in grammar becomes more complicated, the student becomes more and more overwhelmed. And that's when we have to be able to use materials and manipulatives and make things more simple for them so that we can teach them in multimodality ways, and that we can have this explicit teaching. So whatever concept they're learning, we bring it to a level that they can understand. So
Right.
One of the things we're showing here is our grammar bugs. We use these bugs to help basically diagram sentences in a more hands-on way, so we can take concepts that we might be thinking our kids are never going to get this. This struggling learner, let's not even worry about whether they know what's an adjective and
Right.
what's an adverb. Let's not worry about that because they're struggling so much, they're not going to get that.
We want them comprehending the sentence or able to write some of these simple
And
sentences.
that's all true. But
Yeah.
we also can teach concepts that are more complex. We just have to do it in ways that keeps them swimming, not drowning.
Exactly.
So I love the next slide you're about to go to, because it really shows that we actually believe in productive struggle when we think about it in different ways.
Yeah, remember when it was good? We've all experienced this positive, productive struggle. Think about babies. All right, so we have this stage where this toddler is safe in a crib, but do we expect to keep them in that crib forever just because that's safe and you know, they can be kind of barely mobile there, but at least we know where they are? No, we want them taking that risk. We want them growing. We want them always being pushed to gain that next skill, crawling and then pulling themselves up and then walking and all of those things. We have that vision for product. Oh, and do we always go run in and rescue the baby when they're struggling with some of that?
I mean, if they're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah, we watch them kind of work through that struggle and figure it out. Yes, they're about to, you know, poke themselves in the eye. We would go help.
Yeah,
that would be destructive struggle right there.
Right. But you know, how many of us have watched our little toddler struggle to stand up, or they're standing up and they try to take that first step? If we constantly are like, and they might even cry. I mean, I can remember my kids being kind of like, because I'm a little further from them. Now, do I set them wailing because no, I'm not going to respond? No, but if I knew they were just kind of a little scared, a little frustrated to take that first step, but they could do it, and I might have my hands super close.
Supporting.
So that, yeah, I'm very supporting. Come on, one more, you did it, woohoo! You know, we know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So we just have to have a vision for that productive struggle at every age.
In language arts.
Yes.
And in school.
Yes.
And learning.
And in reading and writing.
Yep. Okay, so we want to introduce this video for you. It's an example of a student engaging in productive struggle. And I think this first one is your student.
Yes, it's a student of mine. I want you to notice that I didn't spoon feed him everything. He was referencing back on some prior learning. And I expected him to use his skills and use the resources that we had created for him. And he does not like writing. He hates spelling. And we were engaging in it anyway, but we were doing that at a level he could do. And he drew a picture because that made it a little more fun for him. So we're going to show that video next. I don't think it played right.
It didn't. Some of them do.
Pull me out.
Okay, and what are you going to do when you get to the word came?
Spell it.
Okay.
He came. Came.
Did you spell it?
C-A-M-E.
He came.
Came to pull.
That sound that you hear is a U.
Oh, to yoga. Pull.
And it's smack dab. So what do you do?
Whatever. Oh,
He came to pull.
me out.
Ow.
Ow.
Do you remember the ow?
Ow.
Remember how we spell ow?
Spell ow.
You gonna look at your vowel chart over there?
Ow. How do I forget? Out. Ow. Ow. Oh. Forget.
Look at your vowel chart. Can you point to it?
Oh, O-U.
O-U. But what do you have written there?
A.
So,
O. Out. Out. Came to pull me out.
okay. So that's your truck stuck in the mud?
So something I want you to notice is there was some information there that he did not have the prior training on. For example, when spelling the word pull, I knew that was going to be tough for him. What the object of our lesson is we were working on a word that he in particular has a difficult time spelling. The word was came. He had all the prior learning he needed to spell that word. We'd worked on it. He had to use it in a sentence. He developed a sentence. So that's what we started with. When he came to the word pull, I did give him the U. Then I reminded him of a rule we had. I called it a smack dab rule of, where he had to remember the double L. So I gave him support there.
But
when
it was support. You didn't say double the L.
No.
You said
Right.
smack dab. You gave a prompt.
Because I knew he had prior learning there. And then when he got to ow, he had a resource. If you're interested in that, we have a class we teach called the vowel chart.
Oh,
He
yes.
had a vowel chart, and he had learned that ow sound. It is a struggle for him. I know that. And when he said ooh, I could have just said, nope, it's ow, but I didn't. He had the resource. He knew how to use it. I knew if he just took that one more step, he could get himself there. And I think he felt more proud of that than if I would have just said, nope, OU. Okay?
Yeah, and he struggled for a little bit there. And
Yeah.
she let him
And
sit
it's
in that
okay.
struggle. And that
I
was
still-
totally okay.
Right. I still supported him,
Yep,
though.
still supported.
He had what he needed.
Yep.
Okay, so we
All
have
right.
another example of this.
Another example, this is my student. I'll let you watch it first and then we'll unpack.
Your word is chip. Ch. Ch, ch, ch. Ch, ch.
I think this is it.
Remember, that one's your TH tongue biter.
Okay.
And which one makes the ch sound? Ch. It's in there, and you're right that it's an H, brother. Ch. Good work.
Yeah.
Good job. Push and pull.
Ch. Yeah. Chip.
Good. Pull it back down and do it one more time.
Ch. Yeah.
Good job. Can you change chip to chap?
Ch. Ah. Where's our A? There it is.
Good job. And say your new word.
Ch. Ah.
Okay, so what you can see there is he was really struggling with sorting between his what we call H brothers. But when we have those two letters that make one sound, like TH and CH and SH, and he's phonologically impaired, the sorting through sounds and tracking sounds and storing sounds and how you spell them is all very difficult for him. He was hands-on, the one doing all the work here. However, I was offering a little bit of support, but he did struggle. In the beginning, he chose the wrong one. I supported a little bit. He still had to engage in that. Okay, I'm going back. I'm really working on pulling this from my head here. He was doing all the searching and pulling and all of the work. And in the end, he was so much more solid on those H brothers after a lot of work like that than if I just kept correcting him every time he misretrieved.
Right. And Moira is using a product we call our sound
Oh,
bugs.
yeah. Fun.
And a lot of these exercises that you were seeing on these videos are taught in our Laying the Path classes.
Yes.
And so we're going to show you the next slide. Just to give you an idea, we want to help you help students be productive, okay? Be more productive and let that struggle be productive struggle, not destructive.
It's hard to say.
Struggle. That is a hard.
Destructive
I was
struggle.
struggling.
You were
saying
struggling.
destructive.
I
Okay.
let her struggle.
Yeah,
so.
she did. Thanks for that. Anyway, you'll notice these LAP, that's what we call our Laying the Path classes, and I've explained that idea. We try to cover these different areas of language
Key
arts.
important skill areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're really all about equipping the educator for these kinds of strategies that are particularly necessary for these struggling learners.
Right. We want to help you help kids who struggle. And more kids are making progress. And we get great feedback about this all the time. You know, I have a person I'm working with who said at the beginning of the year, her son, who's severely dysgraphic, his goal was to write 1 sentence, and by Christmas he was writing 3. And so, and he just told her recently, oh, I see what's going on. Now I'm going to have to write in every subject every day. And he can do that.
And she said, yes, that's the goal.
That is the
because
goal.
we're always moving forward.
Right, right. And he is in junior high. I mean, that's totally appropriate that he's writing in every subject every day, but he is a significantly struggling writer. So that's our goal, is to...
We want to help you get unstuck as the educator, as
Right.
well as your students get
Right,
unstuck.
right. And we really hope that this has been helpful for you to think about, how can I help my struggling learners be engaged in productive learning? And how can we avoid that destructive learning?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.